morning. The video is stunning and graphic. It shows the moments before the deadly shootout between rival biker gangs, the Bandidos and the Cossacks.
In the mid-1960s, a former Marine in Texas had a vision. He wanted to build a motorcycle club that, in his own words, would be tougher than any that came before it. What started as a small group of riders would eventually grow into one of the most investigated outlaw motorcycle clubs in the world. Over the decades, the Bandidos Motorcycle Club would expand across continents, face federal indictments, and become the subject of major law enforcement crackdowns. But how did it grow so fast? And what ultimately brought intense federal attention down on the organization? This is the story of the rise of the Bandidos Motorcycle Club and the investigations that followed. This video is created for educational and documentary purposes and does not promote or glorify criminal activity. The formation, 1966, Texas roots. The Bandidos Motorcycle Club was founded in 1966 in San Leon, Texas. Its founder, Donald Eugene Chambers, was a Vietnam War veteran and former U.S. Marine. At the time, motorcycle culture in America was evolving. Some clubs focused purely on riding and brotherhood. Others began developing reputations for operating outside traditional social boundaries. The Bandidos quickly adopted a strong identity, structured membership rules, strict internal hierarchy, and a distinct insignia. Over time, the club expanded beyond Texas into other states. Law enforcement agencies would later classify the group as an outlaw motorcycle gang, a term used for clubs that allegedly operate outside the law while maintaining a formal structure. Rapid expansion. By the 1980s and 1990s, the Bandidos had grown significantly. Chapters began appearing not only across the United States, but also internationally, including parts of Europe and Australia. Expansion often brought conflict. Territorial disputes between motorcycle clubs have historically led to tension. According to various law enforcement reports over the years, rivalries between outlaw motorcycle clubs sometimes escalated into violence. Authorities alleged that certain members of the Bandidos were involved in criminal enterprises including drug distribution, weapons trafficking, and other organized activities. It is important to note that allegations typically focus on specific individuals or chapters, not necessarily every member. However, as investigations expanded, so did federal interest. Federal investigations begin. By the early 2000s, federal agencies in the United States began building larger cases involving multiple motorcycle clubs. Undercover operations, wiretaps, and surveillance were increasingly used in organized crime investigations. In several high-profile cases, prosecutors used the Waco Act, a federal law designed to target organized criminal enterprises. Waco allows authorities to charge groups if they believe the organization itself was involved in coordinated illegal activity. Court documents in multiple cases over the years have alleged that certain Bandidos chapters engaged in structured criminal conduct. The club has repeatedly denied being a criminal organization as a whole, stating that members are individuals responsible for their own actions. Nonetheless, investigations continued. Escalation and violent incidents. One of the most widely reported incidents connected to tensions between motorcycle clubs occurred in 2015 in Waco, Texas. A confrontation involving rival groups led to a deadly shootout at a restaurant parking lot. The event drew national media coverage and resulted in numerous arrests. Law enforcement agencies described the situation as a major escalation in motorcycle club rivalries. The aftermath led to increased scrutiny not only on the Bandidos, but on outlaw motorcycle culture more broadly. Although legal outcomes in many of those arrests later became complicated, the incident marked a turning point in public perception and investigative intensity. Undercover operations and internal cases. Beyond large public incidents, authorities have also pursued smaller, targeted cases involving specific chapters or members. Undercover officers have infiltrated motorcycle clubs in various operations across decades. Federal indictments in different states have accused certain members of racketeering, conspiracy, and narcotics distribution. In many of these cases, prosecutors argued that hierarchical structures within chapters enabled coordinated activity. Defense attorneys, on the other hand, often argued that the club's structure did not automatically make it a criminal enterprise. These legal battles highlighted a central question. At what point does association become organizational responsibility? International attention. Outside the United States, law enforcement agencies in Europe and Australia have also conducted operations involving Bandidos chapters. Some countries have even implemented laws specifically designed to restrict outlaw motorcycle organizations. These measures include anti-association laws and expanded surveillance authority. Authorities argue such laws are necessary to prevent organized crime networks from forming under the structure of motorcycle clubs. Critics argue these measures can raise civil liberty concerns. The international dimension demonstrates how motorcycle club investigations evolved into a global issue. Leadership changes and internal shifts. Over time, leadership transitions and internal restructuring have occurred within the organization. Like many long-standing groups, maintaining control and unity across numerous chapters presents challenges. Law enforcement pressure, internal disputes, and public scrutiny can all influence the direction of such organizations. While the Bandidos Motorcycle Club continues to exist, the level of law enforcement monitoring remains significant. The club maintains that it is primarily a brotherhood centered around motorcycle culture. Authorities continue to monitor certain chapters based on past investigations and intelligence. The broader impact. The story of the Bandidos Motorcycle Club reflects a larger issue within organized crime investigations. Motorcycle clubs, by design, emphasize loyalty, structure, and strong internal bonds. When authorities suspect criminal coordination within such structures, investigations tend to focus on whether illegal activity is individual or systemic. Over decades, courtrooms have become the battleground where that distinction is tested. The rise of the Bandidos shows how a local Texas club grew into an internationally recognized organization. The federal crackdowns show how law enforcement adapts when confronting groups believed to operate with structured coordination. Conclusion. From a small Texas chapter in 1966 to a globally recognized motorcycle club, the Bandidos have remained a subject of controversy, investigation, and debate. Their story is not simply about motorcycles. It is about identity, structure, loyalty, and the complex intersection between association and accountability. Whether viewed as a brotherhood of riders or as an organization scrutinized by law enforcement, the Bandidos Motorcycle Club represents one of the most enduring and investigated names in outlaw motorcycle culture. And as long as questions remain about organized crime and group responsibility, stories like this will continue to draw attention. If you found this documentary informative, consider like the video and subscribe to the channel for more in-depth crime investigations and historical analysis.